Former Oklahoma Sooners commit Darion Green-Warren and Edgerrin Cooper announced their decisions to play elsewhere. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to talk about Edgerrin Cooper and Darion Green-Warren, who both announced at the All-America Bowl that they will be attending Texas A&M and Michigan. For Edgerrin Cooper, his decision to reopen his recruitment following, well, a really wild Thanksgiving also led me to understand that perhaps LSU was in, and it's really difficult for Oklahoma to compete with LSU right now in recruiting, especially with kiddos from Louisiana and the East Texas region. And you got to understand Oklahoma has some history with LSU in that they were in a battle head up with the top inside linebacker in the 2017 class. That'd be Jacob Phillips, and Jacob Phillips is one of those outstanding defenders on that LSU defense that's going to get to play for a national championship against Clemson later on this month. But Edge Cooper going to Texas A&M also felt just kind of wild, but when you think about it, both LSU and Texas A&M are SEC schools, and the SEC has been not just dominant across the college football landscape, going 7-2 in bowl games with one still left to go, the biggest that we have to see in the national championship game, of course, but also in the NFL draft, where they've set records for how many players have been drafted from that conference among 224 selections each year in 7 rounds. But also, if you look at the all-pro level, the best football players in the world, NFL all-pros, 7 of them were first-team guys, and most of them play defense, right? At LSU alone, all 3 of their all-pro selections are defensive backs. They also picked up Dwight McGlovern earlier in the broadcast. As for Darion Green-Warren, a kiddo that grew up an Oklahoma fan, was committed to the 2020 class under a different regime. Alex Grinch comes in. He wants bigger, longer ranger quarterbacks. It's not for Darion Green-Warren. He was down to USC and Michigan, among others. Michigan won out. I'm excited about it. I really loved how he went about his commitment announcement on the broadcast. He looked over at his mom and said, "Mama, where are we going?" Which also for me, I love it. Like I know his father, Marty, really well, and Marty is a class individual. Been talking to him off and on. They are rooting for Oklahoma from afar. They're playing in a different conference, the Big Ten. But now we're talking about Dax Hill and Darion Green-Warren and Lavert Hill on the same defense and in the same secondary. Those, like Dax Hill and Darion Green-Warren on one side of the defense is a no-fly zone for me, because Darion Green-Warren is the most instinctual defensive back in this entire 2020 class, according to me. He knows where the ball is going to be. He jumps the ball, and he's an outstanding teammate. If you watch the broadcast, you also saw Bryce Young and LV Bunkley Shelton were standing with his family watching him make this announcement to tell you just how he has become really not just a great friend, but got to know a lot of those dudes. Bryce Young, modern day, they were teammates. They were both Monarchs. LV Bunkley Shelton was on his 7-on-7 team, and they destroyed some people over the summer. I also want to just take that to highlight many of these kiddos are rooting for each other, and they're going to remain friends. And Bryce Young, of course, is going to play at Alabama, and he was named the National Player of the Year. He's going to be on campus the same time as Tua Tagovailoa when he announces whether or not he's going to return or go to the NFL. Bryce Young is going to actually get to Tuscaloosa tomorrow. That would be Sunday. As for my man DGW, I'm very excited about you, man. You know this. I'm very happy for you. Edge Cooper, I'm glad you're going where you want to go, but this is college football, right? College football starts in recruiting, and you know how much I enjoy the stories around these kiddos, and I'm going to root for them as I get to know them, regardless of where they go, because it's a special thing to be able to play Power 5 Division I football. It's even more special if you get to go into the NFL draft and you get to put your family on. And that's one of the reasons that I really love the All-America Bowl broadcast, is I get to see the families next to these kiddos that we come to have feelings about, good and bad. But at the end of the day, I am always going to pull for them, and I really am excited about this group of kids. Also goes to show what Oklahoma needs to do to really compete and get some of these top level recruits. Like you'll look at the 247 sports rankings with the composite across, right? You'll see teams that traditionally have been playing the college football playoff, also Oklahoma, are in the top 10, but the top 5 is really getting to separate. The number 1 and number 2 players in the country are both committed to Clemson. Brian Brzee, right, defensive tackle, 298 pounds with a 4.8 40. Goodness me, that's get off. And DJ Uiagalelei, I think I got it right, DJ. I'm going to get a lot of practice here. DJ Uiagalelei also is going to Clemson, 6'5", 246. Goodness me. Also got a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Probably going to play a little baseball at Clemson, which has been really, really good over the last couple of decades. And if you're not in on these kids, or you decide that you just want to throw them to the side because they didn't go to your school, I can't help you. You know, like everybody wants to win in recruiting, and I say that recruiting is about being a door-to-door salesman. And it's all about not just telling a kid what you can do for them, but telling that kid what he needs to hear, telling his family what they need to hear, and then following through on your promise, right? Because it goes both ways. Recruiting, we talk about these kids as if they're just out there for everybody to have or for everybody to get, when on the other hand, it's really about numbers. It's about where they fit in. It's about how they feel about the situation. It's about how often they get to see their families, where they're going to be. Brock Vandegrift, primary reason he decided to reopen his recruitment is because he just came to understand it's too far away from home. Going to the middle of the country after growing up in Georgia, he has opportunities to play elsewhere, so he's going to pursue those. I feel that way about all these kiddos, and I'm very excited to see what happens next with them. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.